HTML. So basically, with the help of the DOM, we can come on our browser and make interactions. Let's say we have a button. We already know how to create a button. Let me call the button show me an alert. So now, with the help of JavaScript, all functions, there are some things called JavaScript events. I think I need to show us that there are some things we call JavaScript events. Events are DOM events rather. DOM events are things that enable us, are basically APIs in the browser that enable us make certain interactions on the browser. For example, being able to click on a function, you need a click event. Being able to drag and drop, you need an on drag event. You also need, there are also events for example, when you want to get the particular instance where you drag enter and drag leave. So many events for even mouse enter, mouse leave, mouse over, mouse up, mouse wheel. Yes, there are tons of JavaScript APIs for events. For events, I'll probably send us a link to that. DOM events in JavaScript. I think you should be on event reference. Yep. We have a ton of them here. Nope, not this. DOM events. Let's see if this lists everything. Nope, this guy doesn't list everything. DOM events with JavaScript cheat sheets. This guy might list everything for us. Nope. Basically, a lot of them are just focusing on the common ones. That's the add event listener, remove event listener. Basically, an add event listener is basically an event that listens for the call of a function. I'll probably send us, let me make note of this so I can send it to us. Is an event listener is basically an event that's listens for a function call. So with add event listener, what you can basically do is add an event listener to a particular function or a button in which whenever the event is called, the event listener picks it up that, okay, this event has been called. And you can also remove the event listener. There's the keyboard events, JavaScript events like the on-click events that I was explaining, and mouse events. This doesn't look that useful. That's comprehensive enough. So there are a ton of events which we'll get used to as we work. But let me just run us through the common ones. For example, the on-click event. The on-click event is basically to get an interaction when you click on a button, or when you make any click on your website. Could not be a button always, could be the click events could be on a text or anything. So let's say now let's say we have so we have a button. Let's say when you click on this button, what we basically do is call where's the example I wanted to use? Okay. We basically want to show an alert. That's the first example I was focusing on. So basically, we can easily come on showing an alert. So basically, window dot, my keyboard has died again. Window dot show dot what's this thing again? Let me just look at the options. Windows dot alert. Okay, it's directly alert, and I am an alert. Open live server. So basically, what this does is when we click on this button that says show me an alert, it basically gives us a JavaScript interaction that says I am an alert. Yep, and that's it. That's one of the events. And we also have a ton of other events, like, for example, let's say we want to okay, my keyboard has gone off. I might need to switch this. So let's say, for example, we want to make a modification to our inner HTML. Let's say, for example, we have a text here that says, this is an HTML DOM file. And now let's say the ID, let's say we give the file an ID of the text, the tag rather, an ID of DOM. We can easily come here and say and reference this particular. So there's something called a document object. There's a window object in the browser. There's a document object as well. So basically, document objects lets you access some characteristics in your DOM directly, like the ID, your class name. You can also make modifications to an HTML file by changing the inner HTML. There are a ton of APIs that are available for that. You can see them here. For example, access the root elements. You can change full screen, execute a command, write, make direct changes to style sheets in that particular HTML file. Query selector, you can query selector for an ID or a class name. You can even create tags like p tag, create any tag you want, any tag you normally create with your normal HTML file. You can easily create it using JavaScript. I think someone left a comment. Augustine for the first time. Okay. So let's say we have document dots. Let's say we want to modify get element by ID. Let's say I want to get this particular element DOM and modify the HTML text to be let's say the text now says I have been clicked. Are we still together? Can someone unmute and let me know we are still together, please? And are we still
Not together, though.
We are not together.
At all.
Where did I lose you?
It's funny, it's from the start.
Okay, okay. Well, okay. Is that the same for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did I lose you from the start of this particular DOM manipulation, or did you guess what I did in the previous SAS file? Did you understand what I did previously with SAS?
Even the SAS myself, I didn't get it, sir.
Voila.
So we can't actually get everything at once in the class. This is an awareness. That's why there are recordings and their materials. Do you understand, sir? So after this, someone like me, like immediately you finish, I go and visit everything so I can get proper understanding of it. I'm not within 2 hours. I'm not expecting to get everything clearly. I don't know if this makes sense.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, because some of these things are new to you, so you might not get everything at once.
Yes.
I don't want to go back to SAS again. So what I will do is I'm going to send the file across. The classes are not recorded. They didn't give us a Google Meet account that can record, so there's no way to record the classes, unfortunately. But what I'll do is I'll send the file and also give us an assignment which you can play with and get familiar with what my keyboard is back. Okay. And what we are supposed to, and what we did rather. Let me just go over this again. This DOM manipulation. So basically, in the browser, just like I explained earlier, certain JavaScript interactions are done with the help of certain interactions on the browser rather are done with the help of JavaScript. So it's because of JavaScript you can easily see an alert and make For example, what we just did by modifying this text, what I basically did was when you click on this event, let me call it change the HTML. So when you click on this button, what it basically does is it modifies this text and changes it to whatever it is we have set there. So basically, like I said, there's a document object in your browser, or a document API rather, which you can call in your browser and use it to get different browser APIs. Like, for example, I can easily fetch the exact ID of this particular H1 tag and modify the content of the HTML tag. I can also create new HTML elements with this. I can do so much more with this Windows browser APIs, like the window and the documents. I hope that is clear. So basically what I did here was I basically called the document object, and I told you that, okay, I want you to get a particular element by ID because I'm looking for an element. Now, what is the name of the element? The element is called DOM. So basically what I did was I got this particular DOM element. So now at this point, I have the DOM element, and I can easily tell is that, oh, I want to change the inner HTML of this particular element. And basically what that does is it changes this text for me. So now I can easily come here to change the HTML, and it changes to I have been clicked, which is the text I passed in here to tell you that when I click on you, change this for me. I'm trying to look for how best to help us understand some of these things. Let me see if there is a resource I can send to us to understand those JavaScript APIs, those browser APIs. I'll probably check after the class for something we can read further on for things we can read further to better understand. We also have different tags like query selector, even the window alerts that I showed earlier. Monitor has gone off. It's back. Okay, even the windows that alert that I showed earlier, and this monitor has gone off. 1 minute, please. Okay, it's back. So let's quickly do something real quick. Let's play around with something. I want us to create a file and make some interactions. Let me call this DOM file 2.html. Okay, so HTML file. Okay, so basically what I want to do is I want to create a bulb. I want to be able to turn on and turn off a bulb in the browser directly. So basically, like, let's say we have two buttons that says, one says turn on my bulb, and the second button says turn off my bulb. Great. Now we have two buttons that say turn on my bulb and turn off my bulb, and we have two images for turning on, and two images, one of a light bulb that is on and one of a light bulb that is off. Now what I want to do here is, we already know how to work with images, which I've showed us before. By default, it will have the bulb of image. I already explained why alternate text is important. Image of a bulb switched off. And yeah, so now I can easily come here. Let me give this a class name of or let's just use an ID instead. An ID of image, bulb image. So now I can easily come here and say that on click, let's take a look at what we currently have so we can see it. DOM file 2 let me just open this live server. Okay. So now this is the image of our bulb. So now what we want to do is we want to click on turn on my bulb and turn on this bulb and turn off my bulb to turn off this bulb as well. So now what we'll do is add an on click. Before I continue, who can guess what we are going to do here? Can someone unmute and just, you don't have to say the code, just give an idea of what do you think we are going to do or what you think we are going to do.
If you use that on click, if you
Yes.
press the button, it will switch on the bulb.
Okay.
And when you use the other button, turn off the bulb. If you click on it, if there is an on click action, it will switch off the bulb.
Thank you. Thank you. Who was that? Let me note your name. Who just answered me, please?
Rukayat.
Rukayat. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Rukayat. So now, basically, just like Rukayat said, when we click on this on-click function, we switch on the bulb. So basically, what we are going to do is what we did earlier, document dot get element by ID. Now, what do I want to do? I'm trying to get this image tag because now I want to switch on the bulb. So I have to get this image tag. And what's the name of the ID? Bulb image. And now when I get this image tag, now I have this ID, right? Beautiful. Now what I want to do is I'm going to access the source file. I can't get source on that particular element. Where are you? Okay, this guy is just not predicting it, but we are correct. Okay, fine. So now basically what we are going to do is we are basically going to access this source. We've gotten the ID, right? We are on this image tag at this point. Now this source is what we are trying to access now. So basically we are on source. So we're going to say that when you get source, I want you to overwrite this source and replace the bulb off image with the bulb on image. Yep, with the bulb on image. And now, so when we click on this button, what it will basically do is come here, is to come to this image tag, come to the source, remove this bulb off image and replace it with the bulb on image. And the same thing for the bulb off, to turn off the bulb back. What we are basically going to do is replace this image with the bulb of image. Now let's take a look. So basically when we click on turn on my bulb, it basically just changes the image and replaces the image with the image of a bulb that is on. And when we click on turn off my bulb, what we basically do is what we turn off the bulb by replacing the image with the image of the bulb that is off. Is that clear, please?
Yes,
I
sir.
have a question.
Sir,
Okay.
The and the bulb with the turn on image and the bulb that have the image that is lighted. Do we
Yes,
have it saved in our documents too?
yes, we have
Or
both.
how does the browser get that one and replaces it?
We have both of them in our documents. Can you see the
Okay.
screen? Yes. So we have the off image and the on image. So basically, what we are doing is when we click on this turn on, we get the image from our document, replace it with the off image, and we can see that now it is turned on. And when we click on our turn off image, we basically remove the one that was on and replace it with the one that is now off. And yep, so that's JavaScript interaction for you. I want us to, well, eventually down the line, you won't, because currently now, it was many years ago, we used to do this kind of hardcore interactions in JavaScript with things like jQuery. But now we have so many front-end libraries and frameworks that we can do this with. So you might not always, you will still do this eventually, but you might not always have to make this type of browser interactions, because with libraries like React, Vue.js, Angular, Svelte, they've abstracted a lot of things and they make it easier to work with the DOM. So you won't always have to do interactions like this. Also, we could do something. I think typically let's quickly do something. Typically, we always have a bulb that is on by default, that has a single switch rather by default. Normally in our houses we have a single switch. We don't have two different switches for on and off. So now let's make this generic and call it toggle my bulb. So now we want to control the on and off with one switch. So basically what we want to do is we want to turn it on and turn it off with the same switch. So what we are going to do is if let me just get this here. Where did I paste this? Okay, let's just write it again then. So basically, if let's create our script. I already explained to us that we have a script file for JavaScript, because now I want to write more scripts than we will use. I've not taught us if statements. When we get to if statements, we'll come back to this. So I don't scatter things again beyond this thing for us. We've not done if statements. So what I was to use an if statement, but we've not done if statement, so let's just move on. Next thing, let's talk about JavaScript variables. We'll come back to this when we've done if statements. It won't be an assignment after we've done if statements, so we'll figure that out on our own. So JavaScript variables. What are variables in JavaScript? Variables are basically, let me create a file called notes, class for notes, class for notes.md. So JavaScript variables are basically variables used to store data values, and they use keywords like var, let, and const to declare variables. So basically, what's a JavaScript variable? You might have seen something like const a equals 10. So basically, in this context, a is a variable. We could call it, who answered the question the other time? Rukayat. Let's say const Rukayat. So now in this particular function, in this particular expression rather, we've defined, or statements, we've defined a variable called Rukayat. And we have three ways of defining variables with keywords. We have var, like, as you can see, we have let, and we have const. I'll go into each of them one after the other. What's next? Okay, yep, and we also have the equal sign. Okay, an equal sign is used to assign values to variables. So basically what we've done is we defined a variable called rukayat here, and we easily said, okay, rukayat equals 10. So we use this equal sign to assign this variable to rukayat. So now if we console, let's do something real quick. If we go in our browser terminal and let's create a JavaScript file. How did we end up here again? Yeah, all our files. Don't save. Open folder. Deep. Okay. Okay. Now we won't have to even go into the browser anymore. Beautiful. We use terminal for everything. So now basically let's create our JavaScript file. JavaScript, and our JavaScript extension is always .js. So let's say we create our class for, let's call the file class 4.js. So now in this file now we can write all of our JavaScript executions and run them with node. Let me show you something. Console.log basically tells JavaScript to print something to your terminal. So I am working fine. So I want us to see our working. I am working fine our terminal. So when we run this class underscore 4.js file, we should see I am working fine. Beautiful. So that means we are ready. So now let's say we've declared a variable called rukayat, and we want to, and we've assigned the value 10 to rukayat. So now in this context, every time we call rukayat will return the value of the value assigned to her. Let's look at this now. Now if we console.log rukayat, if we try to get rukayat, you can see it tells us, okay, when we try to get the value of rukayat, it returns 10 because we've assigned the value 10 to rukayat. And we can declare variables with, like I said, we can declare variables with const, let, and var. And also let's see. Variables can also be declared automatically, and let's do this. It can also be declared automatically and used. For example, what I did here was I declared our variable before I used it. We can also do it automatically by declaring and assigning in the same line. What does that mean? I can easily come here and say let rukayat equals 10 and use this directly without having to. So basically I'm doing both declaration and assigning in one line. So we can declare variables this way as well. And let's do a quick JavaScript expression. And with the help of JavaScript, we can do things like, let's say x equals 10, y equals 5. With the help of JavaScript, we can come here and do let z equals x plus y. And JavaScript basically does that execution for us like a calculator and tells us what the answer is. So it tells us the answer is 15. So with the help of JavaScript, that's why we're able to perform so many computations. And yep, like I said, it can be declared using var, let, and const. Let me add this to the notes because I will share this with us. Can declare it using var, let, and const. Yep. And what's next? Okay, the var keyword was used in JavaScript from, okay, there are different years. We are currently in year 6. That's the latest JavaScript we are currently running on. But VAR has been with JavaScript all the way from 1995 to 2015. Then in 2015, that is in ES6, they added let and const as new keywords for variable declarations. This is a bit of history. We don't need that here. And also we have some things called JavaScript operators. What are JavaScript operators? Operators are basically used for arithmetic calculations, like we did earlier. We have the plus, we have the minus, we have the multiplication, and we have the division to compute values. Basically the same way we did plus, we can also do times, we can do divide, and we can do minus and multiplication. So basically that's just, so those are JavaScript operators. We have more operators, because we have like the modulo, which basically returns I can't do that here. Well, the modulo basically returns the remainder of your value, like this. See, I think that's something else. Basically, yeah. Let me see if I can show you modulo JavaScript. This is the modulo operator. Okay. I was using Python. So in JavaScript, this is the modulo operator in Python. In JavaScript rather, is the multiplication sign. So what it basically does is it takes your 10 and it divides 5 by 10 and returns the remainder of whatever this evaluation is. So I believe this returns 0, because 10 divided by 5 equals 2, remainder 0. So, and what modulo does is modulo returns the remainder. So that's why this is 0. I should add this to our note as well, because it's not a part of this. So we have the modulo operator. Yep. Am I too fast? Are we still together?
Yes, sir. Right on.
Okay. We have the assignment operator as well, which I explained earlier. This is the assignment operator. This is the equal sign to assign a value to a variable. Basically, what we did here when we said Rukayat equals 10. So now every time we call Rukayat, 10 is basically like, we know that the current president of Nigeria is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So let's just say president, let me call him president of Nigeria equals Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So every time we call every time we call president of Nigeria, who will show up? Who will show up? Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he's the current president of Nigeria. Exactly. So that's basically what it means. So basically, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been assigned, is currently the assigned value for the post of president of Nigeria, and that is what that assignment operator does. JavaScript expressions. Expression is a combination. Let me drop this here. An expression is basically a combination of values, variables, and operators that compute a value. Basically, what this guy does. This is a JavaScript expression. This is an expression. What it basically does is it computes whatever variables you've given it to return a value to you. What else? Let's see. In JavaScript, statements are instructions executed by the browser. Okay, yep. We also know that in JavaScript, okay, statements are instructions basically that are executed by the browser. Everything we'll be doing since are basically statements that we give our terminal to run, like we did here. For example, we told it here that evaluate this and return a value. We also told it that console.log this and print this for us. We want to see what this evaluates to. So those are basically statements and instructions that we are giving to node.js to Node. That's why we're able to run this with Node, and also the browser. Now, we declared 3 variables here. There are ways of declaring variables. So you could declare all of your variables at once. For example, here we did let A, B, and C. Now we've declared these 3 variables, and we can easily come into each of them and assign their values. So for example, here we said A equals 5. Now the alternative to this is we can easily come here and do let A equals 5, let B equals 6, and let C equals A plus B. Now, instead of us writing these lets one after the other, we can easily come here and do everything at once and say let A, B, and C equal let A, B, and C, which have already been declared. Now we can now assign the values to each of them one after the other. Now, somebody might ask, what happens if we try to call a value without assigning it in JavaScript? What would happen? Let's take a look. Let me call this. This is evaluating to 0 by default. Okay, something is being done here. Ideally, it should ask you to declare, okay, because the current environment, it just declares it for me, because I think probably VS Code is doing something underneath. But ideally, if you try to I know, if you try to call a value without, okay, I'm assigning it, that's why. So let's try to get X without declaring or anything. So what does it say? It says that reference error X is undefined, because it doesn't know what X is. X is basically undefined. Now, what was happening before was, because we are assigning the value, it's basically just declared and allowed us to use it from the assignment point. But if we do not assign at all and we just try to call it, it basically tells us, oh, it doesn't know what X means, because X has never been defined and it has no idea what X is. I've explained this. Also, comments. This is something I did here. You can also add comments to our code. Basically, add 2 slashes, and that basically add comments to the code. Let me add that. We have single line and multi-line comments. We have single line and multi-line comments. With multi-line, you basically, this is single line, and with multi-line, you basically wrap whatever you are commenting with this. So you basically tell it that you basically do /* and close it with /*, because it's a multi-line comments. No matter the amount of lines, as I keep typing, as long as it is within this block, everything will be commented out. So that's single line and multi-line comments. Also, naming variables are case sensitive. What does this mean? Let me just paste that here. Naming variables, JavaScript is case sensitive, and identifiers are also case sensitive. Variable last name is not the same thing as variable last name with small letter n. This will point to 2 different there's something called memory address. So these both store in two different memory addresses on your machine. For example, last name is different from last name because the names are even different. Let's run this code and take a look. Let's say, so now let's see last name, and let's see last name console.log last name. This is the one with capital N, and this is the one with small n. So we can see that they both point to two different node. So we can see the one with capital N points to Doe, and the one with small n points to Peterson. So it's case sensitive. Capital N and small n are not the same thing when naming variables. So it's very important to be mindful of that as well. And also there are different types of naming your functions. Let me paste this here and type some more to it. So we have naming variables rather, as well as functions. So there's something called snake case, which is what we have here, where you call it first underscore name, and snake case is characterized by underscore. So snake underscore case here, first underscore name, last underscore name, master underscore card. So this is snake case. Now we also have the upper camel case or Pascal case, where the first letter of each word in your variable is a capital letter. What this means is, for example, when you have a compound statement like first name are two different words, but when you want to name your variable first name, the F is capital letter and the N is also capital letter. That's Pascal case. Same thing as last name, MasterCard, Intercity. And we also have the lower camel case, where only where the first word is not capitalized, but every other word after the first word is capitalized. Like here we have in first name, F is not capitalized, but N is capitalized. So we have first name, last name, MasterCard, Intercity. We also have something called, I think these are the common ones. Yeah, snake case, Pascal case, camel case, upper camel case, lower camel case. Yeah, these are the common ones. And we also use this in variable function declarations as well, rather function definitions rather. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have three different ways of declaring variables in JavaScript. We have the let, we have the const, and we have the var. Now, they each have different peculiar characteristics. Here we can see that let, for example, this tells us that let's have block scope. So what this basically means is, if I come in here and I define a function called let Sunday Badmus equal Nigerian, string Nigerian, and I try to console or get the value of Tunde Badmus outside here, who can tell me what you think will happen? Anybody? Let's just look at it together. So basically, it tells us that Tunde Badmus is not defined. So that's made of block scope. Tunde Badmus is only defined within the context of this block. So I can't access Tunde Badmus outside this block of outside this block context. But if I come in here and say Tunde underscore Badmus, now my code will be able to recognize Tunde Badmus and tell me that Tunde Badmus is Nigerian. because now it has access to the particular variable. So just like we said, let is block scope. So this is what it means by let is block scoped. Also, what's the next thing? Variables declared with let must be declared before use. What this basically means is you can't come here and if we let me show something. Basically, it just tells us that we can't come here. Now we've declared Tunde Badmus to be Nigerian here, but what we are trying to access the value of Tunde Badmus before we declared it. So now JavaScript is telling us that you cannot access Tunde Badmus before it's what? Before its initialization. Are we still together, please? Are we still, is this still clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I'm getting it now.
Okay, so it basically tells us that you can't access Tunde Badmus before its declaration. So you can only access Tunde Badmus after you've declared him as a Nigerian. So that's the meaning of variables declared with less must be declared before they are used. So now when we call Tunde Badmus after declaration, it tells us that he is Nigerian. What's the next thing? Variables declared with let cannot be redeclared in the same scope. What does this mean? Let's try something. Let's say Tony Badmus changes nationality to Ghanaian and he leaves us and runs to Ghana. Ghanaian. So now what this basically does is it's telling us that we've declared Tunde Badmus with let before. We've declared Tunde Badmus previously. So we can't redeclare Tunde Badmus again because he has already been declared. So now you can see the error. Identifier Tunde Badmus has already been declared. So we can't redeclare him again. So what we have to do now is either Tunde goes to Ghana and he changes his name to Tunde Kofi. So now, if Tunde goes to Ghana and change his name to Tunde Kofi, then nobody will know that Tunde used to be Nigerian before. And Tunde can go to Ghana and be called Tunde Kofi. Yep, and in Nigeria, Tunde is bearing Tunde Badmus as a Nigerian, but in Ghana, he changed his name to Tunde Kofi, and we can easily use him as, can easily have a Ghanaian passport and call himself Tunde Kofi. What's the next thing? Is that clear, please? Okay. Please, if you have any questions. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
To draw me.
Hello,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
So this console.log, is it only used for this terminal or for this live? If you want to use it for this live, what is it called? Do we use it for web browser also, or is it for only this terminal?
Yes, it's used for web browser. So I can easily come here and let's say we want to do that. So you can see console. Console is the language of the browser, or language of JavaScript rather. So when you tell JavaScript to console something, it understands that you want it to print something. So I can easily come here and everything we've been doing before. Let's say console.log I am a man. I am a man. So you can do it in your browser as well. It's basically the language of the JavaScript engine. Do you understand? In your browser, for example, the JavaScript engine running your browser understands that when you console something, it should print it for you. In Python, hopefully we have enough time before the end of the period to work with Python as well. Python just calls it print. It basically just tells it that, oh, I want to see what is here, so print it for me. So that's basically what console does. It basically tells it to print. Is that clear? So it prints it to your terminal or your browser, whichever, or your browser terminal, but not to your browser DOMO, because like I said, the only language this guy understands is HTML. So everything here has to be HTML, and you can't print JavaScript directly into here unless you are inserting whatever it is you are printing into an HTML tag, maybe a p tag. For example, now this console.log, basically what they did was they have another terminal here that says 3, and basically what you can do is, let's say for example, let me show us something here. I don't want us to deviate too much, but basically what you can do is you can do some if you have a p tag that says if you have a p tag that has an ID of my console, I can easily run my JavaScript function and call whatever function it is to print whatever it is into this p tag, and I will see it in my browser. But basically what I'm saying is you can't print directly into your browser unless you wrap it in HTML. I don't know if that is clear. So where were we? Variables declared with let cannot be declared in the same scope. Yes, we've spoken on that. Now there's something called the global scope and the block scope. Now this is a general terminology in programming generally, and not just JavaScript, where you can define variables or functions in a global context, and you can also define it in a block context. I believe we've seen what a block scope does. Basically, a block scope is only accessible within that block of code. But in a global context, what we can do is, let's say Lagos is this, let me call this state. Let me call this Nigerian Southwest Nigerian state. So we know that Lagos is a Southwest Nigerian state. So now what we can do is we've declared this particular Southwest Nigerian state globally. So no matter the amount of blocks we have in our code, wherever we call Southwest Nigerian state, we will always be able to access the value because we declared it globally and it is accessible everywhere in our application. So we can, let me take out the bad mode. So we can see that it is accessible everywhere in our application, no matter how nested you are, no matter how deep you go, because we've declared this globally. So it's at the top of, basically at the top of your entire context. It's your browser, your terminal, your JavaScript engine really knows where to fetch it from, because now it is available everywhere. And that's the concept of a global scope and a block scope. Now we are also able to declare functions globally without necessarily having to place it at the top of your JavaScript file. What does this mean? With var, I'll still explain the difference between var and I don't know why I didn't list that out. But with var, you can with var now, I can come here because var hoists whatever variable you've declared to a global context. So we can easily call the state anywhere, and JavaScript knows that the state is Lagos, because with var is not block scoped compared to let. var is not, let is block scope, but var is not. var is global scope. So whatever it is you declare in your block is lifted to the top of your context in JavaScript, and you can easily call that anywhere with var. So that's the difference between, so now var is let let me write this somewhere here. Let me give us all these examples. So VAR is, let's block scoped, but VAR is global scoped. Yep. So let's is block scoped, while VAR is global scoped. There's also one guy we've not mentioned very well. That's the guy called const. I mentioned we have 3 ways of declaring variables. We have the let, the var, and the const. Let and const have some similarities, have more similarities than with var rather. Let's look at some of the, what's the time? We have 3 minutes. Okay, so let's look at some of them. Let can be, with let can be redeclared. Let me see. Let's copy this. Let's cannot be, okay. Sorry, let's variable can be reassigned rather. Let me copy some of the notes and just paste it for us. I think I've taught us that one for redeclaration. Redeclaring variables. No. Okay, so let me just, it's not in the note I have here. So let me just write it here. So let can be reassigned. Let's see what we have here. So what does this mean? Let me copy some of the things we have here. Okay, so redeclaring variables using var can impose problems, which we don't need this. Declaring a variable inside the block, we also redeclare the, we've explained this already. Declaring a variable inside, let me quickly explain this. For example, if we have if let's say for example we have Abuja as a Nigerian state here, and we come here to redeclare Southwest Nigerian state to be, okay, let's say Oyo is the Southwest state. So when we come here to redeclare another Southwest Nigerian state to be Lagos, which one do you think we print first? What do you think the answer would be? Let's quick. Can we just, can we guess? Can we respond? Just guess which one you think will get returned to us. Oyo or Lagos? Oyo or Lagos? Oyo or Lagos?
Yes, sir.
Oyo. Okay.
Yes.
Someone has said Oyo. Okay. Any other options?
None, sir.
None. Okay. So let's look at it. Lagos. And why is this? Because we've declared like we said, var as a global context. When JavaScript basically runs these files line by line. So at the first line, it ran this and saw Southwest Nigerian state Oyo. Fine, it has declared that, and now somewhere it has stored it somewhere. Let's say it's storing it somewhere. Now it has stored it somewhere that, oh, this person has declared Oyo as the value of Southwest Nigerian state. Now what JavaScript continues doing is it goes down, line 2, down, line 3, down, line 4, down, line 5. And because var, like we said, var is globally scoped. So irrespective of what has been declared before, it comes here and says, oh, this person has redeclared me. var is now Lagos. So what it does is whatever it is that had been saved before, it reassigns it to Lagos, and it keeps going. And it keeps going. Comes to the end, comes to the end, then it comes to the end of our function, and at this point it is trying to print our console.log. Now at this point where it's trying to print our console.log, in its memory it has already overwritten our Oyo with what? With Lagos. That's why we receive Lagos here. Is that clear? So basically var overrides whatever it is that has been declared. That's why the note here says redeclaring a variable using VAR can impose problems, because if you do not know that you've declared, if you do not know that you are overwriting what has been declared before, you can start wondering, oh, why is my code not behaving the way it should, or why is my state Oyo and not, or why I said Lagos and not Oyo. That's why it's very important to understand that VAR reassigns and VAR is globally scoped. What's the next thing? Differences between VAR, const, and let. Now, with const, basically, what we can do is, okay, let me show us one last thing. With let, if I declare this variable to be, if I declare this Southwest variable to be Lagos, I can easily come here and overwrite whatever I stored before and redeclare it to be what? Port Harcourt. That's what let does. Let will not ask me questions. Reassign, rather, not redeclare, reassign. And basically, because I've already declared the variable here and I've assigned a value Lagos to it. So now I can easily come here and reassign another value and call it, let me show us what this basically. So what this basically does is this line and this line. I've not broken this thing. Okay. We can't do this here. Okay. So basically, what JavaScript does is this, at this line now, I have declared Southwest Nigerian state to be Lagos, but at this next line with let, I can easily come and say, okay, oh, you're no more Lagos. This variable is no more Lagos, so this variable is now Port Harcourt. So I can easily come here and redeclare the variable to be Port Harcourt. And when I console this, I will get Port Harcourt as okay, this is, I need to call this here. Oh, okay, that's the reason for why it didn't work before. Okay, so let me do this here and do this here. Okay, like we said, let is block scope. So that's why we could not get it here, because it doesn't know what Nigerian state is at this point. So we need to move our console into the block that we defined here. So now at this point, now we declared Nigerian state to be Lagos. We can, at the next line, we came here to say, okay, now you are no more Lagos, so you are now Port Harcourt. So basically what it does is it returns Port Harcourt to us, because that's the latest assignment for Southwest Nigerian state. And but this is different between let and const. Now with const, basically const and let have similar characteristics, but with const I can't redeclare something. I can't reassign the variable of something that I've declared earlier. What does this mean? If I come here and say Southwest Nigerian state is Lagos, I can't come here and say Southwest Nigerian state is no more Lagos, is now Port Harcourt. Const won't let me change it. Can we see? Assignment to constant variable. So what that basically means is const simply means constant. So it won't let me change it because that is a constant. But with let, I can easily come here and call it again and reassign it, and it basically changes it. So we can see the, let me console this so we can see it here. I am line 5. So at line 5, this is what we have, and at line 8, this is what we will have. So basically, you can see that at line 5, Southwest Nigerian state is Lagos, and at line state where we reassign the value, it is now Port Harcourt. But with const, we can't reassign the variable. That is Declaring a variable. We can't declare the variable rather. What else? What else? What else? Differences between var, let, and const. Let's go to that. Differences between var, let, and const. So from what you said earlier, let and const have block scope, like we defined. Within that block, if you try to access any of their data outside the block, it will tell you that it's not defined. So both let and const have block scope. Also, let and const cannot be redeclared once you declare them once. For example, you can't come here and say you want to redeclare the same variable again. It won't let you. It will tell you that you've already declared it. Same thing as const as well. It won't let you redeclare the variable. It will tell you that you cannot redeclare a block scope variable. So let and const have block scope. Let and const cannot be redeclared. Let and const must be declared before use. Like I said earlier, you can't come here and try to console this before declaring the variable. It won't let you do that. Let and const are not hoisted. What does this mean? In using var the other time, let me show us something. Let me look for an example for this. No example here. Okay. So using var, for example, we can say var hoisted equals I am hoisted, and we can easily come here and call. Now we know for let and const, we said they are not they cannot be called without being declared, meaning they have to be declared before they are called or try to call them. But with var, we can call console at this point despite declaring it after we declared it like 1 2 3 4, declared it 5 lines after. But with const with var rather, we can call it and it recognizes the function. So now we can see that it recognizes the function, but it doesn't recognize the value because the value is undefined. So it hoists the variable, but it doesn't hoist the value with it. Now that's what var does. var has the capability of hoisting the variable to the very top level of your JavaScript context. But with let will simply tell you that I don't know who that guy is. Can you see now? Let simply tells us that reference error hoisted is not even defined. I don't know who that guy is. Same thing as const. Const will also tell us that this function is undefined though. I don't know who that person is. Do you understand? It doesn't recognize the function, the variable name rather. It doesn't recognize the variable name hoisted. But with var recognizes the variable name hoisted. Recognizes the variable name hoisted, but it doesn't know what value is there. But it knows that yes, there is a variable called hoisted, because in JavaScript context, when JavaScript wants to run this, it basically takes this var variable and in the context window, it leaves it to the very top of the function without the value. So now it knows that there's a variable called hoisted somewhere, but it doesn't know the variable, the assignments it has, but it knows that there's a variable called hoisted somewhere. So that's the difference between const, let, and var, and that is the meaning of var being hoisted. Any questions, please, so we can close for the day? Any questions? Any questions? Was I too fast? Any questions?
No, not really, sir. But if there is a way it can help, we'll still go back through the class if it is recorded. That would help as well.
Okay, great. The class is even recorded. Beautiful. Who
Thank you,
came to record it? The class is recorded.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, so that should be, we are way past our time. So if there's no question from anyone, I'll probably send our assignment across so we can take
Hello,
it.
sir.
Yep, okay.
Please, are we to use terminal when we're writing the GS code?
When you're
Is
writing,
it compulsory? JavaScript. Is it compulsory to use terminal? I
yes,
can
you have
see
the JavaScript environment. Basically, there are two options. You could either do it the way I'm doing it. Have a JavaScript file. The essence of a terminal is you need a terminal to see what your. I just realized that you guys don't even be able to run this. You need to install Node on your systems, on your laptops. Install. So what you should do is install Node.js on your laptops. If your laptop doesn't have Node, basically go on Google, you can search for install Node.js, download it, click on download, and download Node.js on your laptop and install it. So this way you would be able to you'll be able to call Node the way I did to run these JavaScript files. Do you get? Now, if you do not want to do this, the alternative is to go on your browser, which might not be that convenient if you have to run a ton of files. But you can easily go on your browser and use the browser's inbuilt terminal environment, which is this, and we can easily come here and call and run JavaScript in here as well. Let's say I am a man, and it prints I am a man. You can easily run things like maybe let's x.
I'm not hearing your screen.
Okay, sorry. People didn't tell me quickly. That means you didn't even see the Node.js I was showing you. So I said, first of all, you should go on Google, just search for install Node.js, come here, come to Node.js website, download it and install it. So this will enable you to be able to run Node.js files the way I am doing in my terminal, where I could just call Node and run this directly in my VS Code terminal. And your other alternative, which I wouldn't advise, is to use your browser's terminal, which is this. And because this will not be convenient if you have to come and run, let's say for example, let's then come here and say let z equals x plus y. I don't even think this will work because they are in different. Exactly, it doesn't know what. So now you need to run all of this in the same line, which I wouldn't even advise. So it's better to just set up Node the way. Don't paste code into dev tools. It's not even letting me paste. It's better to just set up Node.js the way I explained, download it and install and use your VS Code to run it. Other alternative is to run it online. There's Replit. You can easily use Replit. So Replit is basically a Node.js online compiler and interpreter on the browser online, where you can easily come here, create an account. But I think I already have an account. You can log in with your GitHub account. Now, what Replit does, Replit gives you an environment to run JavaScript. So you can see Node.js, create repo. And with this, this is an online terminal for easily running JavaScript. And that is that. And click run at the top. So this is an alternative. You can easily learn JavaScript by running it in your browser. You can run this on your phone as well. It works for phone, it works for desktop. Let me see the mobile view. I'm sure it works for phone as well. Yep, it works for phone as well. So you can easily write your code and you see run it at the bottom. Just when you write your JavaScript code in here to run whatever it is you want to do, just click run and it shows you your console environment where your response is, and you easily see the response. So those are like 3 alternatives. I would advise if you do not have a system, just use Replit directly for everything related to JavaScript that we'll be doing, just to understand and play around. Yep, that's any other question? If there's no other question, thank you everyone. See you next
Thank
week.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'll send the assignments across as well. See you next week.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good night.
Right.
Thank you too. Thank you, sir.
Steven, I think you just joined us, right? This is your first class. Is Steven with us?
Yes, sir.
This is your first class, right?
I've been joining, but I've not been consistent. So this is my first day of staying full time.
Oh, okay. Because I know your name looks very new. I don't think I've seen this name before. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
So have you been doing the assignments or?
Yes, sir. I was the one that messaged you on WhatsApp.
Okay.
You
Okay.
gave me.
Yeah. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
All right. Good night.
Thank you for tonight, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Yes.